I almost died twice in the last 8 years. Going into my junior year of college, I was told that my kidneys were failing and they were giving me about 15 years to live. And the doctors were telling my mom to think about funeral arrangements. I just remember sitting in my hospital bed for a week and not talking about it. I had a really good friend come to me and he was like, Viv, God made your body and he didn't make any mistakes and it's gonna be okay. And I just had this moment of accepting that my life might be shorter, but I was gonna make the most of it. So for me, I'm very aware of time and I'm very aware of how to shepherd it. And today my kidneys are at normal kidney function. And they've been that way for the last 8 years. So when I was here, I was actually pursuing my master's in theological studies. The program that I was in, there was a course I really wanted to take around the Theology of Suffering. I think grief and suffering is something that you just have to learn how to get comfortable with if you're going to be a therapist. Working with men in prostitution in Boys Town, working with people in gangs in Pilsen, you encounter a lot of suffering. You learn how to sit with people and their pain. It's not until you are in deeper relationships with people, it's not until you've marinated in the complexity of being human that you start to realize, oh, this is a lot more intense than I thought it would be. You can't be a therapist without a rigorous and strong self-care regimen. Because in therapy, the door never stops revolving. You never finish something. There was a time where I was doing deeper study in trauma therapy. And I had a mentor really encourage me to find a creative hobby with a beginning and an end. I thought it'd be cool for me to learn how to program and how to code because my dad was a developer back in Chicago, so I thought it'd be cool for us to have these long distance nerd dates talking about code. And as I was learning more about coding and different programs, I noticed that a lot of these programs online were also teaching something called UX design, and I'd never heard of that. So more so out of curiosity, started to explore what is UX design, what makes up that field. And as I started to look more into that, discovered UX research. Was wow, here's something where I can bridge my love for people with technology and business. Arrived to this point where I was I think I can do this. I think I wanna make a career switch. I won this scholarship to attend the OReilly Design Conference in San Francisco. And this was early in my career switch, so I was super excited. You had heads of design, heads of research from Airbnb, Google, Netflix, all these major companies. I'm listening to the speakers talk about being human-centered, talking about empathy, talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion in design. And I remember going back to my hotel room afterwards and just sitting on my bed and being this is bullshit. I ended up, flying back home and writing my thoughts on this Medium post series that I called Why Most Conversations in Tech About Diversity Are Bullshit and What to Do About It. It started to pick up. Started to speak on the role of shame in, UX research. I started to speak about how self-care is an ethical imperative, where I talked about compassion fatigue, I talked about burnout and trauma. I talk about a lot of this work within my 9-to-5 job, within my speaking engagements, within external consulting I do. Still having to convince people about why it's important to acknowledge other people's humanity. And really having to work through those walls of privilege or apathy. I'm so tired having to exert so much energy to prove, to communicate to people that this is important. And so I want to make a community I want to make, a space where other professionals who are interested in doing the personal work that's required to do our best professional work. It's powerful to know that you're not alone. It's powerful to know that those things that you've been seeing that feel off, that feel hypocritical to what you were told this industry would be like, those things are real, and you're not alone in seeing it. You now don't have to be alone in resolving it, and fixing it, and making it better. And so now you're gonna be able to connect with other professionals who are experimenting with this in their workplace, who are also coming across the same barriers, the same problems, and know that they aren't alone in their suffering. Humanity-centered is about recognizing, elevating not only our own humanity, but the humanity of others. And really, on the short time that we have on this side of eternity, how can we help people truly flourish and live the life that they were created to live?